Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we are continuing in the purport in the 7th canto of the 5th chapter of text 23-24. Probably one of the longest, if not the longest purport Srila Prabhupada ever wrote.
15 pages.
Yes. So, Grihastha devotees must adopt the Archana Vidhi or the deity worship according to suitable arrangement and directions of the spiritual master. Regarding those unable to take the deity worship in the temple, there is the following statement in the Agni Purana. Any householder devotee circumstantially unable to worship the deity at least must cease the worship, and in this way he may achieve success also. The special purpose of deity worship is to keep oneself always pure and clean. Grihastha devotees should be actually examples of cleanliness. This is, as we mentioned yesterday already, we spoke about this, that it is not common knowledge today that Srila Prabhupada didn't like Grihasthas worshipping their own deities if they are in a physical reach of a temple. He wanted that actually the temple deity should be the worship of the deity. And as I mentioned, I could give an example of Croatia, Zagreb, to what is known to me. I don't know the temple very much, but due to circumstances, a regime was assumed that the local Grihasthas, of course, second initiated, take turns on the deity worship in so much way that every day there is another pujari. And actually, because they don't have a central pujari and they cannot maintain it like this, so the Grihasthas to take turns like this. And as long as they are, this is also another important part I stressed yesterday, that Prabhupada always connects deity worship to the direction of the spiritual master. That means that we cannot just grab some statue, put it on a shelf and say, this is my deity, and do something with it. Same thing Srila Prabhupada didn't like that the murtis are just purchased in Loi Bazaar in Vrindavan and distributed over the shelves of any man in any place, in any location in Europe, possibly even in the toilet. So it's like, that's what happens. Prabhupada said, once you have a murti, once you have a deity, then you should actually take care. It's a personal thing. And then there are rules which I am not entitled, I am not a pujari, I am not qualified at all to talk about this, but I always related to Krishna Chaitra Prabhu, who was the minister of puja and who has a very, very pragmatic and very personal approach to the matter. Like to what size deities can be worshipped, to which way, and on a certain size of the deity the worship must be this way. And I asked him, how should I had for 10 years I had at home full-size Prabhupada, and what he's saying like here, so I asked him, how should I worship in this, what is needed to be done, and he was very practical. But the point made, especially for Grihasthas, is cleanliness. Unfortunately today, when we travel around, we see the cleanliness truly being confined more to the Grihasthas due to the presence of the females. This is the statistic fact. It is very unfortunate, but it is like that. Brahmacharis are sometimes incredibly messy fellows. I think it's one of the reasons I got married, because I couldn't take the smell of the Brahmachari ashrama anymore. And they all smell the same all over the world, you know that? Because it's the same unwashed copinard, it's the same unwashed gamshas, it's the same filth and dirt. It's not needed. This is actually should be exactly opposite. Cleanliness is a result of one's consciousness. It's not that we are super clean. If you want to go to super clean, you go to the kamis, yes, they look very clean. Of course there's meat everywhere, of course there's places polluted, but chemically spoken, they're very clean. They just, you look at that house here next to us. It used to be a filthy, dirty old house. And the soon comes, a certain family with a standard moved in. You will not see garbage lying in the garden like we have lying here. 1 week of not surveillance, we are going to drown in garbage here. This is a sign of a very, very fallen type of consciousness, not of ignorance. There's nothing more to it. Kamis are disturbed. Of course, I don't want to mention Germans. Germans just clean for the sake of dying. You know, they just organize and clean and then they die. They will work, you know, for the sake of working, and then they work for the sake of working, and then they die. Of course, nowadays also the mode of ignorance is infiltrating everywhere, but that can be also technically overdone on that platform. There's a meaning, there's a purpose for that, you know. And in all, even in a Christian land, stress that cleanliness is next to godliness. Why? Because it's a result of consciousness. Krishna consciousness means an organized consciousness. Controlled mind automatically is resulting in control of the action. You cannot have a controlled action in an uncontrolled mind. An uncontrolled mind comes from uncontrolled desires. They shoot up and they motivate us to act this way and that way, and we even forgot that actually there is some duty to be done. So Prabhupada was actually, he used even military, military type, what is it, chant, perform your sadhana and execute. And those who were in the Prabhupada saw how strict he was, how regulated. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing. And the way how Prabhupada was paying attention to the details was horrifying. The servants were flipping out. Prabhupada was, you couldn't give him anything with the left hand, it was with the right hand. And all that culture. Prabhupada said how to receive gentlemen. The whole room should be not only spotlessly clean, but it should be covered with white sheets. And there should be white cushions everywhere, with rolls, and then you can sit down and welcome the gentleman. I saw in Bengal how they interpret this into the Bengali context. There was a room in Mayapur I saw which was prepared for receiving gentlemen, and there was white sheets spread around, white cushions, and across the room, on that white sheet, was the exact print of a rickshaw wheel, like this. Because the local laundrymen, they wash the laundry and they dry it out, just spreading it in the sunshine, Well, some rickshaw drove over it and it was a perfect print of a gumita of a rickshaw. So at least, this is all expression of modes, different. When a person can tolerate filth on that level, he can also do other things. You can be sure if somebody is affected by ignorance in this way, then he will also, act in another destructive way. Ignorance means destruction. Passion means creation and destruction. And goodness means creation, maintenance, endurance. You just do the same thing every day because that's your duty and that's how it should be maintained, which is not easy in a material world. In a material world, everything is designed to dwindle. Everything is on the way down. This is already demonstrated by magnetism. You throw something in the air, it will come down, guaranteed. This is the nature of this world. It will hit the floor. So if you don't try to sustain something, automatically it will come down, including our consciousness. And that makes Krishna consciousness a little bit difficult, because you're constantly struggling against the move down. If you let it go, you don't have to struggle to fall in Maya, it happens automatically.
It's a default setting. It's a default setting. Like on a computer, there's a default. It goes back to the same.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, the same picture comes up. And Prabhupada said not only that, but it can go lower even. There's always a dimension to fall down more. There's always a dimension to degrade more. So that makes Krishna a bit, because therefore we are recommending people when they start to chant, whatever you chant, 1 round a day, 2 rounds a day, you maintain it. You don't go down from that. And you don't put the thing too high, because then you will not succeed, you will be discouraged. Maintain whatever, and ultimately, Skadamakara Maharaj was teaching me 2 rules for management, very essential, which you don't find in the Vedas, but very essential. First of all, the water always finds its level. As much we try to pump, like when Prabhupada was here, he knew how to pump. He brought us to levels we couldn't even imagine. We end up doing things we couldn't imagine. Things happen nobody could imagine. But in the long term, you always see devotees kind of settle down on a level which actually they can maintain and sustain. And that doesn't mean there is no status quo in Krishna consciousness. We should not always push up, but from a level we are established on. The push on has to be there all the time, because if you don't push, you will go down. You will not sustain that platform. So the push is always there, but from a level we can handle more long term. Here comes the ashramas, here comes all this, Varnashram Dharma comes into the picture. All these elements are there, which are actually a result of our living in this body. Spiritual soul doesn't need an ashrama and nothing of this. This is transcendental. But since we are not there, we have to find a platform we can conduct our spiritual life realistically. And then the second rule is birds of the same feather always flock together. It's such an amazing thing. You find it on all levels. Preachers always attract basically and effectively a certain class of people. And that's actually nice because preachers are different. So if you actually put it together, you get a kind of mosaic, you get a kind of picture where everybody actually will have his customers. And then you have devotees of an absolutely transcendental dimension like Srila Prabhupada, who can attract vast, variety of people. It's like Prabhupada's preaching, and you're just sitting in his room, A devotee, obviously Vaishya-minded, came in. Prabhupada said, so, how much? What is the profit? To talk business with Prabhupada was exciting to any Vaishya. It's good profit, good profit. For Krishna, best profit, yes. Therefore Prabhupada attracted this kind of people. And then you had a simple Mataji coming in. Prabhupada even said, don't worry, we will give you a husband, or just being very fatherly, very caring, very accommodating, embodiment of the ultimate shelter. That was what it was. We felt absolutely sheltered in front of Srila Prabhupada. First time I saw Srila Prabhupada in the middle of a Frankfurt airport. There was no airport. It was just me and Prabhupada, and it was completely fine. They could kill me in that airport, I would be very okay with that. There was absolutely no consideration. It was an absolute feeling of shelter. So that's one thing. And then came some Babaji from Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, bring harmonium. And then he was chanting some bhajan with him, and then he was crying, and he was completely, Prabhupada, and then came a child. Little Saraswati came and said, Prabhupada, why do you have such a big mouth? And Prabhupada said, so I can put many sweets inside. Many sweets in a big mouth. And there's this, when Prabhupada was so, especially the Saraswati Prabhupada was, Krishna, they had the whole thing going on. That girl was so fortunate, because she's traveling with Yamasundara all the time. So she was very often with Prabhupada, and she had free access to Prabhupada. She could just walk in, and Prabhupada used that as an example. It's a perfect bhakti yogi. Look, I chant Hare Krishna, she's dancing. That's perfect bhakti yoga. Yeah. He used it, he can hear it in his lectures. Saraswati was all over the place. What a fortunate soul, And Prabhupada, she could eat from Prabhupada's plate, he wouldn't mind. So it's just, there's this famous incident where she was still very small, she couldn't be more like, 2-3 years old. And she was sitting on the lap of her mother when they had darshan with Prabhupada. Yeah. And they were talking to Prabhupada, and the kids get bored in such a meeting, there's nothing going on, so she was kind of restless. And then finally she slipped out of her mother's, that's at least the story I heard, she slipped out of mother's hand and hit the floor, with her head, just fell out. And as kids usually do, it doesn't really hurt, nothing much happened, but they take an advantage to destroy the meeting. She took a good breath and she was ready to give it a good scream. And And then she looked at Prabhupada, who was sitting just, 1.5 meters away behind his desk. And he had this big,
bushy eyebrows.
Bushy eyebrows. He raised the eyebrows and opened the eyes and looked at her. And she was frozen, And he said, "You hit my floor. You broke my floor." She was like, "What?" And then she examined the floor where it's broken. Completely forgot her pain and the whole stunt she was planning to do. And she was completely busy observing the floor and where it's broken. And then Prabhupada continued.
Completely distracted.
Completely just neutralized that. And the parents were going, "Wow, that's expert." I cannot put my child, neutralized like this. In one thing, like he did it like that.
So intelligent.
So, on all levels, Prabhupada was so amazing because he could just capture the attention, and actually, he could surpass the covering of the soul, enter the heart, and just get it, And this you can do only when you are very, very pure and completely free of envy. As then there is a tinge of envy, people respond, they get defensive. You will not come in my heart. You have some intentions here. You will not like this. This is the general relationship between the conditioned soul. Everybody keeps the heart, Prabhupada call it steel-framed hearts, concealed, and no, you will not get in there. And if so, under my conditions, I will sway, I will check, what you are doing in my heart. So this Prabhupada completely neutralized it. People were just completely surrendered, practically instant. Anyway, back to the cleanliness. Deity worship should be continued along with hearing and chanting. That's also a very important point. It's not just an anti-ritual. You just wave some items to some statue. That's Hindu. Very good, they will throw coins somewhere. Like in India, you put a pond, they need to throw coins in it. You go, why are throwing coins in a coin? I remember in Mayapur they had the exhibition, the Dr. Frog, they built really a kind of bell, and there was this frog inside listening from other frog about how big the ocean is, that story. And people were going, there was a whole, Pakistan Maharaj liked that very much, there was a whole display with different, changing bodies and everything. And
this year also.
Huh?
They have this year also in Brooklyn.
And when people came to the well, they didn't throw Dr. Frog nothing. They immediately started to throw coins inside. It was full of coins. Someone wanted ritual, it's just ritual, you do things, we found here in a donation box, somebody invented some ritual, he poured some liquid inside, because he said this is auspicious. So I just opened the donation box and there were some coins, just, soaked in some sweet sap. Swaha! Just rituals. Vedic scriptures in themselves, they are full of rituals, but they have a meaning. It's actually personal. There's a meaning to them. So that should be clarified by hearing and chanting. Especially those who follow Lord Chaitanya, that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, that's actually the worship. Therefore, every mantra is preceded by the word Namaha. In all mantras, there are specific potencies of which the Grihastha devotees must take advantage. There are many mantras preceded by the word Namaha. But if one chants the holy name of the Lord, he receives the result of chanting Namaha many times. So once again, Prabhupada draws the conclusion. The Maha Mantra is all-inclusive. It's all-inclusive. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can reach the platform of love of Godhead. One might ask then, what is the necessity of being initiated? The answer is that even though the chanting of the holy name is sufficient to enable one to progress in spiritual life to the standard of love of Godhead, one is nonetheless susceptible to contamination because of possessing a material body. Consequently, special stress is given to the Archana Vidi. One should therefore regularly take advantage of both the Bhagavata process and the Pancharatriki process. Deity worship has two divisions, namely pure and mixed with fruitive activities. For one who is steady, deity worship is compulsory. Observing the various types of festivals, such as Sri Janmashtami, Ramanavami, and Nishinga Chaturdas, is also included in the process of deity worship. In other words, it is compulsory for householder devotees to observe these festivals. Therefore, because Grihastha Ashrama is loaded with isolation, this is always what's killing devotees. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, privacy is the root of evil. You need it private. Essentially spoken, Grihastha Ashrama is a protected situation because in ideal state you are never private. There is always wife. Well, they can be very good observers of your faults and mistakes. They are perfect fault finders. Can be. And it's not bad. I'm not criticizing, not at all.
And vice versa.
It's vice versa, yeah. It's just like this. You know, this is because I don't want to quote some of my realized godbrothers, but there is, believe it or not, there is an element of envy there. You know, there is a competitive thing which is regulated by Vedic culture, by chastity. You know, yeah. Therefore, there is actually a Swami, the husband is Swami, master. Even you may not exactly believe it all the time, but it's a customary thing. That's something you do. And it's psychologically very advantageous because all men like to hear that. So you can easily control the other one by humility. And control is not meant negatively. You know, it is a kind of voluntary agreement of mutual control, otherwise you cannot enter that ashram. You cannot just come in, you know, with everybody comes in fully armed, you know. Okay. That's the bad start. That doesn't last for long. It just turns into a battlefield. So it's an austerity. And you are not alone. What to speak when the children arrive? Wow, they will consume you alive. And it's their good right. Children have that license, you know, just to take. They will not give anything. They will just take. Therefore, in a Vedic culture again, there is a training which contradicts the whole thing. That means service. I just read actually a comment how birthdays should celebrate it. It's an old text. It comes from Ramakrishna Maharaj, but it contains a quite interesting point. That in a Vedic times, birthdays, I know devotees have a very controversial relationship. You always go happy birthday, not exactly Vedic mantra, you know. But, you know, and then comes the cake, and then comes the one who gets it all, and he'll be praised, and all this. Actually, the Vedic concept is reverse. The one who has birthday is giving in charity, and he's serving the others. He's welcoming, but serving the others like that. That's actually the Vedic thing. In the West, it's like, hey, I get it all today. Come on, give more. You know, so this is actually reversed. Anyway, this is actually, we use the opportunity, and it's actually quite useful sometimes, to use the opportunity to tell a devotee, thank you that you are here, you know, to give him a special attention, because it's needed sometimes. We are so absorbed in our daily routines and service and mission and, you know, it's like in an army, it could be, and it is in one sense. But sometimes time has to be taken aside a little bit to say thank you that you are here, because there are not so many devoted.
At least one day.
Huh?
At least one day a year.
At least one day a year, yeah, one can do that. You know, thank you that you are here. It's anyway nice to say thank you, and it's anyway nice to recognize somebody's presence, which is, you don't notice. But I don't know how they do this in Canada or America, but here, to recognize somebody's presence, it's a challenge. I don't want to go into details.
Ideally, it should be a way of life that we're acknowledging each other on a daily basis.
Yes, through the service, why not? But it's a challenge in Scandinavia, anyway. I think I earn my right to say it. I'm more like 30 years hanging around here. It's still a challenge. It's not. You don't have to mention or preach this in Italy or something like that. You know, in Italy, right away in a japa time in the morning in a temple, They pay so much attention to each other, they barely change their arms. That's another problem. It's all, and woo, and and obeisances, and you. Hey, you have to change 60 rounds, It can turn into other problem. But generally, Grihastha ashram are very, very loaded with isolation. Because there's so many things to take care of. You have to maintain, and you have to provide, and you have to do this. And in a Vedic context, once I was exposed to the association of a young man in Rajasthan who found me in a train station in Delhi while I was buying a ticket for the Jaipur Express. And he was very friendly, he was very close, and I was thinking, of course in India I think, what does he want? Actually he didn't, that was amazing. He found me in Jaipur when I was walking around again, and he took me to his family because he just wanted to show me, he just got married. He was actually a Jain, from the Jain sect. And then, and he wanted to get married, so I had to sit there and, family, to visit a family in India, it's like a huge meeting, it was 20 people sitting there, and they had a feast, and then welcome, and they were excited, white, actually I wasn't white, I was actually brahmachari at that time, so I was just, sadhu, and then when they feed you, oh yeah, it was so spicy, it blew the top of my head off, and Jaipur cooking is Rajasthan, it's pretty hot. So you have to eat that because otherwise they get very offended. So you go, thank you very, no, enough Mataji, enough, and they just push it on you like anything, And then even the dosha was so spicy, it was just burning, The advantage of such a food is that you take 2 bites and after that you can eat anything. You don't taste anything. You are tranquilized. It's finished.
Numb.
Completely paralyzed. So anyway, and I asked this young man, he took care of 1 week of me, traveling around with me. He was very helpful. And then and then I asked him, so you got married, so what are you working? Working? No working. Married. First child. Child coming, but not working. But then, of course, I have to work. But that's already arranged by the relatives. There's no social welfare in India, really. So already, the whole dynasty, and they already had a reserved line where he's going to work and he's going to be engaged in this business and that thing. But not immediately. And his wife, she looked like a minor-aged, girl. The problem, they are so young and they are so beautiful, and this is my wife, and she was like, and there was, she was, a mother-in-law, and she had a whole team of guardians around her. It's actually very heavy in India. When the young girl enters the household of the husband, it's heavy. I got a detailed description from devotees who lived there. They said, she gets actually hell on earth in the beginning. Because they say mother-in-law and they say senior women. And she has to establish herself in the dynasty of this womanhood in their family. So she has to be very humble. And the husband cannot help that. She's at the mercy of these women. And they are just testing her. And when she can take that, then she will be respected. She's part of the dynasty. Like that. So it's a whole bigger picture of family. But in the West, it's just one husband, one wife, and lots of Maya around. And they survive, just go in the jungle, and then you have the child, and the child comes home from the school. That's actually the real thing where it starts, and they're all laughing at me because I'm Hare Krishna, and all this. And you have to fight for your Krishna consciousness, and sometimes it takes a toll on the family. Because it's very difficult to stay in the situation in such a poisonous environment. So Prabhupada